All right, what's going on, good people? Happy Thursday. Good Thursday to each and every last one of you. This is Esports Extra, the only live call-in sports show talking esports and traditional sports here on Twitch. You can see us here on twitch.tv/compete forever. Also on Mixer, mixer.com/compete forever, facebook.com/gaming/compete forever, and youtube.com/compete forever. Larry Ridley here from SNY TV, NBC Sports, NBA 2K League, Madden, NFL, taking you on a nice little journey here talking about esports and, of course, mainly traditional sports. We'll take your phone calls 877-853-5247. Meeting ID Esport Extra. That's 377-678-9872. Hit that pound button twice to join the show. Got a good show for you today, guys. A good little lineup here. We're talking, of course, about the Drew Brees fallout. There, no easy breeze today on a Wednesday or a Thursday for the Saints quarterback. We'll talk about some of those outstanding issues there. Pete Carroll, nice words for Colin Kaepernick, a former foe of his, if you will, a competitor out there in the NFC West. Pete Carroll giving a shout out and some acknowledgement to Colin Kaepernick. How about Vic Fangio, the head coach of the Denver Broncos? Talked about the NFL. A little beep, beep, beep. Took a little step back, changed his stance on racism and the NFL. Not overly dramatic, but definitely want to put some light on that. And how about Scott Pollard joining us live, the NBA champion of the Boston Celtics, played, of course, with the Sacramento Kings. We're going to talk to Scott Pollard about the NBA, the restart. It's on. The Board of Governors agreeing to that today. 22 teams down at Disney World. We'll get into that. Also, Scott Pollard in the hit TV show Survivor. We're going to ask him about that as well. Small market teams, the Kings, Lakers, all of that good stuff for Scott Pollard as well. Also, Zion Williamson. Yeah, looks like he is going to answer for those NCAA alleged violations. We'll get into that when he was at Duke. FAMU. How about the Rattlers down there in Tallahassee, leaving the MEAC, heading to the SWAC? We'll talk about that. And Good Trouble, the movie. Of course, inspired by the great John Lewis, the icon, the civil rights leader, and also congressman. We'll delve into that. We're actually going to be doing something with that movie. So we'll catch you guys up on that NBA 2K League update. Hopefully we'll hear from the Brooklyn Nets GM and coach, Ivan Curtis, and see what's going on with the Nets. Trying to get the 3-1. Is that right? I think so. Yeah, the 2-1
Yeah.
on the season.
Yeah.
Also, esports. Oh, boy. A little racism there. Racist remarks from a Madden player. We'll definitely get into that. Want to get your thoughts on this about some of the things being said out there on Twitter and hiding behind video games and online. We'll definitely talk about that. The C4 Madden update and also Compete Forever on Black News Channel this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We'll talk about that. All right, let's bring in the crew. Got the broski there, Derwin Morrell, fellow sportscaster. NBA champ, not one, but two-time WNBA champ.
Yes, sir.
Renee
Yes,
Montgomery.
sir. We in
Renee,
here.
you were passing out water down there in the A, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like at this point, we all feel a ways about what happened, So I wanted to like contribute. I'm not going to be marching all the time. So I'm like, look, I know people, what I know about sports is that you need to stay hydrated. So that's going to be my thing. I'm just going to keep the protesters hydrated.
Good stuff. Derwin, where are you, dude? Brooklyn, Flatbush? Talk to me.
I'm in Brooklyn, Canarsie, Brooklyn. Got a lot going on over the last 24 hours
Right.
with Drew Brees and racism. So a lot to talk about.
Well, let's go ahead and talk. Let's get into it. 877-853-5247. Meeting ID, of course, esports extra. That is 377-678-9872. Hit the pound button twice to join the show. All right, we talk about it. Drew Brees, the fallout there, had some comments to, I believe it was Yahoo Finance yesterday, and Drew Brees in part saying he will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag. And, of course, that drew a lot of criticism, incoming fire, if you will, from even some teammates. Malcolm Jenkins, we saw Ed Reed called him a straight sucker. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on there. He did talk about, look, his grandfather serving in the military. I'm just going to say this and put my stamp on this. Black people serve in the military as well, brown people, all races. We all defend this country. We've all been a part of the fabric of this country. Black people were in the military, World War I, World War II, the Revolutionary War, the Civil War. Sometimes they fought overseas and came back home, didn't get the love. So, Drew, I wish that he had took that into account. I want to get you guys' thoughts on that. We'll talk with Renee Montgomery first, the two-time WNBA champ. Renee, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I was just bragging last show, I believe. I was like, you know what? I can remember the progress because I remember when Black Lives Matter, people didn't know what it meant. A lot of people tried to say what Drew Brees said. They tried to say, oh, Black Lives Matter. Well, what about the cops? What about America? That's disrespectful. So I was bragging last show about how we've come a long way because now everybody is supposed to know what Black Lives Matters means. It doesn't mean like exactly what you said. There are black people fighting too. So of course, when we say Black Lives Matter, of course, when he's taking a knee, he's not disrespecting anyone that would serve our military or this country. It's about a social injustice. So for Drew Brees to say that it's not a mistake. It's calculated. Everyone, they were trying to even the way the question was asked, it was for him to almost clean up the situation and say, yeah, now we see why Colin Kaepernick kneeled. It was peaceful. It was a peaceful protest because now that we see the looting, people are upset about that. But like Drew Brees, I mean, everything he woke up early in the morning, first of all, and issued his apology. People weren't even awake yet, Drew, but it was like the damage had been done.
Yeah, we saw that apology. He did. Like he said, he missed the mark. Definitely understand that. The Saints had a meeting this morning. I'm sure he had to talk it over with his teams, but man, he was toasted yesterday, and I believe, I don't know if maybe he should have been toasted, but I'm definitely okay with pointing Drew in the right direction. Like Drew, you're missing the mark here, dude.
Right.
Look at this. I had no problem with any of that, Dorwin.
I don't have a problem with Drew Brees at all. I'm not one of these people, okay, somebody says something, so now we're going to blow him up, call him a racist, and totally forget all the positive things that his body of work, all the things that he has done. He was asked a question, he gave an answer, he talked about what the anthem meant to him, and he talked about his grandfather and his family and things of that nature. Who am I to say he shouldn't feel that way?
But I think the point was he was saying people disrespected the flag.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not.
It's not about it's about the word disrespected the
Respect.
flag. And so that's the only that's the part of that. So everybody can have their opinion about what
It's not
stance to take, but
disrespecting the flag. Look,
that's the
take
point.
people
Yeah.
back. I think my colleague at SNY, Chris Williamson, tweeted this out. I think it was over 1,300 days since Colin Kaepernick took a knee. Right. This was 2016.
Right.
Why did he take a knee, folks? Did it have anything to do with the flag? Why is that hijacked? Can someone explain that to me? Who told him to take a knee?
Boyer.
Thank you. Who is Boyer?
Boyer's played for the Seahawks. He's a Green Beret.
Yes. Used to be a long snapper for Texas.
Yes.
Ta-da! How the hell did this get hijacked? How the hell did this get hijacked?
Because you even started talking about his family and stuff, and that's his opinion. That's not the point.
But I'm saying what he said. This is what he talked about, his family, how even sometimes he thinks about his grandfather, how he fought for the country, and he sheds a tear. I'm just saying his explanation. I'm okay with his explanation. Should he have, if he was thinking about it, he should have said it because people are sensitive right now. The world is going through this whole thing.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a star quarterback that has been, like when you're the star, there's a PR about yourself. You know how to answer questions. You know how to avoid answering a question you don't really want to answer. You know what might be a little controversial. So I think that he knew what he was saying and he said it with his chest. And then, because right now you can see people are taking aside, like the grass is low right now. You can see where everybody's fallen in this and social injustice. So it's not about what he thinks about his family. He said, I will never be for somebody disrespecting the flag.
I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag. That's the part, Derwin.
Right.
You might not agree, but no one's disrespecting
the flag.
Yeah, that's the whole. That's the statement.
That's the talking points that the other side wants you to say.
Right.
And you should know better.
And I agree with Renee.
It's like I felt like lives matters, all lives matters, and the duh.
I felt like he did say it with his chest, and I'm the kind of person. He did, and I'm the kind of person.
And so don't walk it back.
Right. Well, I'm the kind of person. If that's how you feel,
I'm okay with the
you said it with your chest.
Your ass is getting roasted.
Then don't apologize. But I can understand why his PR people were probably up all night, and he did apologize because at the end of the day, He wants this to go away.
Yeah.
Drew Brees is not. I've seen all kinds of stuff about Drew Brees all day. I don't think. Do you think Drew Brees is a racist?
No,
No,
I don't think it's a bad person.
I
No.
don't think it's about that. I think that if you make a statement, he
Right.
knew what he was saying,
Right.
he had every intention of what you were saying, then say
Uh-huh.
it. Like if people have opposing views to me, that's their views. My
Right.
problem is don't say something with your chest and then when everybody like LeBron James, because honestly, if everybody didn't have a big uproar, there would be no apology. He wouldn't have realized the mistake, let's say, because I don't think he thinks it's a mistake. I think he firmly believes that it's disrespecting the flag. So if that's his opinion, he can have that opinion. But say it with your chest then. That's
Mhm.
just how I feel. Like if that's how you feel, that's how you feel.
And
All right.
I don't even know if
Real quickly, Darwin, go
I
ahead.
don't even know if it was LeBron James' reaction. I think his teammates. I think he needs to play with these guys.
Malcolm Jenkins had to take down some
Right.
stuff, and he got after him pretty good.
And Thomas, this is the guy you're throwing to. You
Right.
have to be cool with your teammates. So I think he
Can't
did
guard
the right
Mike
thing.
Thomas, yes.
Yeah, he had to roll it back, and hopefully we can move forward.
Well, Ed Reed out there with the beard and all in the car, man, talking about straight. He called him a sucker. How many times? Twice, 3, 4, 5. It
That's
was
like the
multiple
drinking game.
times.
You got to
I was
drink
like-
every time he says it.
When I heard that, I was like, drawn in, like, whoa, that's the great Ed Reed right there, Hall of Fame Ed Reed, probably one of the top 2 or 3 greatest safeties of all time. Just called Drew Brees a straight sucker. So that lets you know how the other side might feel about this. And I'll just leave it at this: when someone is being oppressed, right, Jewish people or whatever, black people, just hear them out. Don't tell them how they should feel.
Yeah.
That's the problem that I'm starting to get with some of these people. And we'll get into this with the esports as well. We were all in the chat. And look, all of the the communication, it's open to everybody. We're all part of this larger dialogue, if you will, but damn it, there needs to be a marker. And when that line in the sand is crossed, you need to be called out for it. And Drew Brees will go on. He's done great things in New Orleans, damn it. We all know the great things that he's done in that city, and will continue to do great things. He said something a little out of pocket.
Right.
Learn from it. You got to go back and talk to those other 52 guys, not me. I'm good.
But as Thomas said, as Christians, we should try to, he
Definitely
accept his
forgive.
apologies,
Forgive
accept it, and just forgive him for it.
I agree with
But
that.
what I've seen,
I definitely agree with that.
burning jerseys, he's a racist, and all this extra stuff is like Drew
But that's
Brees never.
people's opinion. Again, people are
Okay.
allowed, if they don't want to have an article of Drew Brees clothing in their house any longer because they feel that strongly. Look, I have no problem with nothing anyone does. So like I said, I had no problem with what he said. If you meant it, that's how you feel. I would rather know how people feel. So that's just how
I don't know if it was racist, but it was pretty ignorant. And
I'm glad I know it.
It was tone deaf at bare minimum.
Okay.
So we'll see. But yeah, hopefully, the Saints can get past this. I know Shannon Sharp was asking, look, dude, you should just retire. So
What was that all about?
There's a lot of people actually saying that.
It's hard to go back into that locker room, and other leaders are going to look at him sort of crazy now. Like,
but doesn't that go back into his whole body of work?
Okay,
how is he defined by a statement?
Drew Brees is going to get another opportunity. We know that. There's Collins' opportunity. See, it's a lot deeper, and we don't have all. We'll come back to this. We'll get back to Vic Fangio, and we'll talk about Pete Carroll. But I want to bring in the great Scott Pollard. We'll take your phone calls here live on Esports Extra, 877-853-5247. Meeting ID Esport Extra. That's 377-678-9872. Hit the pound button twice to join the show. Let's go ahead and bring in Scott Pollard, former King, former Celtic. Actually, he's a champion, NBA champion, Scott Pollard. Scott, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on Esports Extra. How are you? I think the audio is connecting. He's trying to connect, so he's not on. We'll wait till he gets on, but we'll wait for Scott to get in here. But
and I'll say something real quick while we're waiting. So on the thing, so the problem that now you're going to start to see is, like, I agree. I'm always of the Christian. That's why I wanted the Christian thought where you want to service people. But
okay, Renee, we'll get right back to that. We have Scott Pollard on. Yeah, for NBA champion Scott Pollard covered him with the Celtics here live on Esports Extra. Scott Pollard, good Thursday to you, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Do you need my video too, or do you just want to not?
No. Audio is fine. I see you. That's you and the lovely wife, right, Miss Pollard?
Yeah, that's our cake topper from our wedding.
Nice, good stuff. Hey, I don't know if you remember me, dude, but we were in Boston at the same time. I was the sportscaster at the NBC station at the time. I got to talk to you a couple of times, not as much as the big three, of course, but just your time in Boston, man. What was that like, man, to finally culminate your career with an NBA championship, man, and hoisting that Larry O'Brien trophy?
Well, I ended my career on an injury. I blew out my right ankle. Actually, oh, sorry, it's my left ankle in February for the last time ever, and I had to get career-ending surgery. So I had him do my right ankle too because it was exactly the same situation. So I had to watch the playoffs from the bench, which sucked. But I had been in the playoffs every year of my entire basketball career, from my sophomore year of high school, all 4 years of college, and my entire NBA career. And I was always on team, except for my rookie year in the NBA, my Pistons. But I wear that ring for all those teams. I've been on very, very good teams. I've been to the Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals 3 times, and so for all the teams in high school, college, and the NBA that coulda, woulda, shoulda, I was finally on one team that knocked the door down. So I was really happy to be a part of that. And even though Paul Pierce won me an NBA championship ring, I still wear it for all those other teams that I was more of a part of.
Hey, man, you earned it. You were definitely part of that team, and that was a great ride, man. And if KG didn't get hurt in '09 and Perk didn't get hurt in 2010, I think they would have won 3 straight NBA finals. Scott Pollard joining us here, former NBA player, NBA champion with the Boston Celtics in 2008, live here on Esports Extra. Scott, wanted to get your thoughts here on the NBA resuming. The proposal was approved by the NBA Board of Governors, and everything is all kosher. They're going to start the season. Looks like July 31st, training camp starting here sometime first or second week of July. 22 teams. Want to get your thoughts on the NBA coming back with just the 16 playoff teams and 6 extra teams. So that means 8 teams will not be there. What are your thoughts on the NBA and the reboot and the restart?
Well, let me bring it back because I'm old and I lived through a lockout. My second year in the NBA, there was a lockout, extended play stoppage, no practicing, none of that. So when we got back, we had a 2-week training camp and no one was in shape. No one. Now there were people holding secret practices or whatever, but there were people that blew up. I'm not saying NBA players are the same now as they were 20 years ago. All I'm saying is it's really hard to be in NBA shape when you're not playing NBA games. That's why there's a preseason. That's why there's training camp. A 2-week training camp that starts in July 31st, and then you're going to play playoff games later. You know, in November, you don't see the stars playing a whole lot, do you? Because they're still not in shape. So you're going straight from 2 weeks of training camp to playoffs. You can't ease anybody in. If I'm an owner of a team that is maybe not got a good shot of making this playoff squad or playoff whatever, I would hold off my stars. I'm not going to let my big money guys go out there and get hurt and kill my chances of winning an Astros championship, of making this playoff. So I just from the health standpoint, I think it's a huge risk to put players out there. And it's not like, again, at the beginning of the season where you can ease players into minutes. You can ease them into being in shape. In the playoffs, you got to be in shape or you don't have a chance.
Wow. What do you think? You think if, say, like the Lakers or the Clippers or whatever team, Bucks, whoever wins the title, will there be some sort of asterisk next to it, Scott? What do you think is going to happen to? How will history look back on this truncated season and the restart?
I absolutely, no matter what. Again, back to the lockout season I lived through. It was
99.
a short season. The Spurs won it. Now, of course, they won more, and they became a little bit of a dynasty. But at the same time, this is weird. This is not normal times, and a lot of people were saying it was the Jazz's year. If there was a full season, it would have been the Jazz. So who knows? The Bulls had broken up. The Jazz were still there. So if it had been a regular season, who knows? But then there's the idea of this year. Why not do something different with the playoffs? Like I've seen people talk about, just seed them 1 through 16,
Yep.
Or the best there are. If they'd have done that in, let's say, 2002, I don't know, I'm not bitter or anything, but we had the best record in the league, the Sacramento Kings, and nobody wanted to watch the Lakers in the finals with the Nets. Are you kidding me? It was the least watched finals, I think, until I was with the Cavaliers and we got swept by the Spurs in 07. So I would love to see something that's a little bit more exciting. And this was maybe this year, this summer, this asterisk championship, they could have done something a little different because I don't think it's going to be treated the same as other championships, no matter what happens.
Good point. We're talking here to Scott Pollard, NBA champion, live here on Esports Extra. Larry Ridley from SNY TV, NBC Sports at Madden NFL. You can join us here, 877-853-5247, meeting ID, Esport Extra. Hit that pound button twice to join the show. Scott, what about small market teams? We saw some of the owners of the small market teams. We've seen the Hornets. You saw the Thunder, although they will be in the playoff hunt. Some of these other small market teams, they're a little worried that they're going to have this time off, literally 9 months from the time that they played all the way to the time that they play again in the 2020-21 season. And sponsorships, they're worried about money and being, I guess, a competitive disadvantage there. Your thoughts on some of the teams not making the playoffs and these small market teams that are crying, hey, this might hurt us?
Well, I'm still wondering if they're going to delay the beginning of the 2021 season till December. That's been discussed.
Oh, it's going to be that. Yeah, because the finals
it's
ends, I believe,
December.
October 12th.
Yeah.
2020-21 season will start December 1st. You're absolutely correct.
So that's an incredibly long layoff. Just it goes back to what I was talking about the lockout. There are already going to be players that are out of shape. And all the teams that aren't playing in these playoffs, they have an incredible hurdle just to be talent comparable or talent ready through the draft or off-season moves, let alone getting your team together. So there's got to have to be maybe some kind of, hey, we're going to let, during the playoffs, we're going to let those other teams work out or something with their summer league team or drafts. I think that's the only fair way to let the bottom dwellers even have some chance of having.
I think they're talking about a tournament, actually. So to your point, I think that is something they're actually talking about.
Okay, that makes sense because it would be just ridiculous, and it would be a ridiculous penalty for the non-playoff teams to have to sit out that long. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, good stuff. Scott, you, of course, played with the Kings. We remember those great battles with the Lakers. But before we get to the Lakers part of it, do you know Grant Napier? And what are your thoughts on Grant? And, I guess, I don't know if he was fired or he walked away, but, some sort of insensitive comments where he said all lives matter. What do you know about Grant? And what were your interactions with Grant Napier, longtime Kings announcer out there in Sacktown?
Well, let me tell you, I am very good friends with Grant Napier.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go on his show very regularly. Just like Doug Christie goes on his show every single day. He's his broadcast partner now. I haven't been out there in years. I've seen Grant in the last year. He's an amazing person. He is amazingly tied to that community. He runs a foundation that has put 41 kids through college that are disadvantaged kids, that are kids that otherwise wouldn't go to college. They're almost 100% of them are the first person in their whole family to ever go to college. And I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm just saying this guy has a track record of 32 years without a blemish. Mm-hmm. And so when this man that's 61 years old, let's say he said he tweeted what he tweeted 10 years ago. Has he lost his job?
No, and I don't think he should have lost his job here, Scott. That's the thing.
He's
I was
placed on administrative leave.
Yeah, it was all lives matter. I mean, he cleaned it up. I don't think it was a bad intention. I think the mistake that he made, though, was responding to Boogie Cousins.
I was just about to say.
That's what got him in this hot water. That's how ironic it is, Scott. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, and that's the thing is, the first thing I tweeted at him, or not tweeted, but texted at him was, hey, man, look, you're a complete jerk. Nobody likes you, but at least you're not racist. I mean, come on, man, a jerk. I know him and Boogie didn't get along. I know him and a couple other players didn't get along because guess what his job is? His job is to critique players when they don't play well, they don't play hard. He's not just the announcer. He's also doing a sports talk radio show, and he fills in for Mad Dog. He fills in for Jim Rome. He's that type of sportscaster. He's that type of broadcaster. So, of course, he's going to say things that are on the line. I don't think, personally, this was anywhere on the line, but in the parlance of our times, it is something that a lot of people view as offensive. And I think it's also a very huge missed opportunity by the Kings franchise and the radio station to have a learning moment, to have a moment of closure, to have maybe something that brings people together as opposed to just, bye, see ya, and we're just going to try to sweep this under the rug. Because I think that we all need a conversation right now. I think we all, in the current what's going on right now in the world, we all need to have conversations. We all need to have feelings, and we all need to get those feelings out. And not everybody be so offended by every little word that everybody says. I know for a fact, and I would stake my reputation on it, that Grant Napier is not a racist person. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what I think. It matters what his bosses think, and they both fired him.
And I
Yeah.
don't necessarily
Go
know
ahead,
if
Renee.
people assume that he's racist, but right now in the climate, I mean, you have to take into account the climate of America with the timing of the tweet. I mean, he put it in all caps too. So, like there's different things, and like I don't like you said, I don't necessarily assume Drew Brees is racist, nor is he, but it's just the sensitivity right now.
Mhm.
You people need to be careful about how they talk just because the climate. That's all I would say. Like, and he's not fired, so this could be a learning moment. He's not
Yeah.
fired. He's
I
on
hope he's
administrative
not.
leave. Yeah,
I
he's
hope
not.
he's
It
not.
says
I
he was
thought he
placed on
resigned.
administrative leave. So
Well,
there,
I thought he tweeted out or he released a
He
statement that said
resigned.
he was done. He resigned. That's what I thought. Yeah.
oh,
That's
I've
what I
Yeah.
saw
spoken with
today.
him, both
He
the
did.
Kings and the radio
And the
station.
radio station. Yep.
As far as
11:40.
Yep.
so
it might
that's the point then, that they actually didn't fire him. So that's what I was trying to say. So they had put him on administrative leave. I know that that's a thing, but sometimes they do that to people just until the situation cools off, and then they bring them back when
Well,
it's
no, Grant said that he's
No.
done. That's the thing. Grant himself. Scott, can you add to this? Didn't Grant say himself that he's done?
well, to me personally, yes. Both
That's what I thought. Yeah.
employers have given him the option to say he's resigned or
okay.
they've parted ways.
Yeah.
So they're giving it a different language, but he's no longer employed.
See, I hope
100% he is no longer employed.
I
by
hope that
either one of
this
his jobs.
yeah, Scott, I hope this thing can cool off because you look at the tweet, he basically said, Boogie tweeted at him like, "Hey, what do you think, Grant?" He's like, "Hey, good to hear from you. Haven't heard from you in a while. Good thinking of I'm it's funny that you're thinking of me. But
Right.
yeah, all lives matter." And that's all he said. I'm like, well, I mean, it's a little insensitive, but that's not incendiary in that context of what he was saying to Boogie. I think maybe you sit Grant down. Hey, Grant, in this climate, cool it with the all lives matter. Of course, all lives matter. We know that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I hopefully they can walk this back, and maybe he can come back and he could do some good with this. Scott, we'll move on and we'll talk about your Kings and those early 2000 matchups with the Lakers. Man, I'll never forget that 2002 team. Hell of a series. The Robert Ory shot. Game 7, Kobe Bryant goes off at the old Cal Palace there, man. Just walk us down memory lane, man, playing against the Lakers. And your thoughts, were those 2000, early 2000 Lakers the best NBA team of all time, especially that team that went 15-1 in the playoffs?
Well, the 2001-2002 Lakers were the second best team in the NBA that year. We were the best.
I love it. Okay.
But
That's how you talk.
but we didn't prove it. Unfortunately, we got to the Western Conference Finals with them again, and we got to we beat them during the regular season. We had the best record in the league. We had the the home court advantage, which we'd earned throughout the playoffs, and it didn't happen for us for whatever reason. And we had Game 7, so no matter what people talk about that series,
Yep.
we had Game 7 at home
On your home court.
that we should have taken care of business, and we cracked the bed. So, to your point, yeah, they were the better team because they had closers. They had Shaq and Kobe who finished the games, and then they went on a streak and continued closing out games for years to come. And that's why it takes I think two superstars to win an NBA championship. You can have one and a bunch of role players, and you can do okay and get deep. Look at Dirk Nowitzki, but you need two bona fide superstars. And he had Nash for a while, but for whatever reason, their role players didn't fit that organization, or it was just maybe because they kept running into us in the playoffs and we smacked them. So anyway, it was just the Lakers. I mean, Shaq in his prime. Everybody asked me, what was the toughest player you guarded? I guarded Patrick Ewing, my childhood idol. I guarded Hakeem Olajuwon. I'm that old. So I guarded some of the all-time greatest big men ever, including Tim Duncan, who's the same age. I can go down the list. And Shaq in his prime was unreal. It wasn't just that he was quick. It wasn't just that he was athletic. It wasn't just that he was big. It wasn't just that he was strong.
He was all of that.
All of those things.
Exactly.
He was all of it. I mean, he was almost like a video game player. It was just like, oh, he's 100 on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I was going to ask you about those battles, but you just cleared that up. When you look at it on those Lakers teams, in a historical reference, I guess, you played on a damn good team. The 2008 team, I don't care what anybody says, that was a damn good team, a very special team. How does those Laker teams compare to your '08 Celtics, the Warriors of 2015 through 2017, or 2018, or the '90s Bulls? Who would you take, Scott, and how would you rank them?
Well, the '90s Bulls has been all brought back to everybody's recent memory because of that TV show. It's really hard, and that's what everybody talks about, right? Everybody likes to talk about the best player of all time, and it's hard to judge them based on each other because they are from different eras. They played against different players.
Mhm.
The toughness of that Bulls team and the closers. I mean, Michael might be the ultimate closer. I think he is the ultimate closer. So when you're talking about, okay, let's put that Bulls team against the Lakers or the Celtics of '08 and any of the other teams you mentioned. After my career ended, I don't really watch as much NBA as I used to. But it's hard to show the matchups because the game was called so differently. Michael Jordan got beat up early in his career, and then they started changing the way the game was called during his career to free up the offensive player. You put Kobe in the early '80s, is he going to be able to compete? He's going to get crap beat out of him. I mean, he was a skinny guy. He was strong. I'm not saying he wasn't strong, but he's going to get knocked down a whole lot more than he did during his career. So that's why I'm saying it's hard to compare those teams. So if you can go more recent, like with let's say that's the early 2000s Lakers versus my '08 Celtics team. Again, Shaq.
Yeah.
Shaq in his prime. I wasn't playing in the playoffs, so there's nobody to even mess with Shaq. I got a nickname in Sacramento, and I quickly squashed it, the Shaq Stopper. I was like, no, nobody can stop Shaq.
Right.
I can try to slow him down on occasion. I foul him a lot, but no, nobody stops him. And so without a guy on the roster, I mean, Kendrick's going to foul out real quick, guarding prime Shaq. We've seen it we saw it in real time. So I just don't know if Kobe's getting stopped by anybody in earlier in his years and towards the end of Ray Allen's years in the NBA. Paul Pierce is always Paul Pierce. I don't think anybody on that Lakers team is going to mess with Paul Pierce. I'm biased because Paul and I played in college and the NBA together.
Exactly.
So I love me some P squared. But, it is hard to match up. It's hard to do it. The killer mentality of the Mamba, it breaks my heart, but I got to think that maybe those Lakers beat my '08 Celtics.
Yeah, definitely understood. Before we let you get out of here, and Scott, we really appreciate you for joining us. We got Scott Pollard on here, NBA champion, live here on Esports Extra. Being a contestant on Survivor, what was that like, and how well did you do? And you seem like a guy that could do very well living in the woods and outdoors, by the way.
Actually, I grew up in San Diego, so the beach was perfect for me.
Yes.
I love Southeast Asia. My wife is from Thailand. Her mom's from Thailand. And so I've been to Southeast Asia a lot of times. And so going to Cambodia, being in that portion of the world, the temperature I was used to, the beach from my childhood I'm used to. I was a Boy Scout for a short time. They kind of kicked me out because I stopped not earning merit badges. They were like, hey, you got to do something. I was like, but I like all these trips. But anyway, it was kind of like being thrown in, like being traded, in the NBA. You just get thrown in with a group of people you don't know, you never met before. They're from all over the place, and they're full of incredibly large egos. So it was kind of like the NBA in that respect. But reality TV is just that. Everybody knows it's not real. The surviving part, absolutely real. I got 28 days out of 39. I lost 46 pounds in those 28 days.
Oh my goodness.
But I had a blast. I mean, it got me down to playing weight. I was happy, I was overweight when I started. So I was happy about that. And all I did was drink a lot of water and eat a lot of coconut. But I had a blast. And that's why I know I'll never be invited back, because I had a blast. I was smiling the whole time. They had one of the people next to me in the jury on the last episode. She was sitting there and she was like, because we had watched it was the finale, not it was the actual finale, the live one, and they were showing clips, and she leaned over and she goes, I don't know how they edited it where you were not smiling in so much of this season. She's like, all you did was crack jokes and tell stories and sing. And I was like, yeah, they had to try hard to edit me into a villain. So I had a blast, and that's how I know it's going to be hard for them to have me back on, because it's hard to hide my fun personality. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I enjoy life, and I don't think that's a secret.
No, and that's what I hear from everybody. That's what I did get to see in the small glimpses when you were in that C's locker room back in Boston in 2008. Scott, I really appreciate it, man. Say hello to your wife, man. Thank you for coming on. Don't be a stranger, man. Anytime you want to come on and talk esports and, of course, traditional sports, we're here for you, man. And be safe out there during this pandemic, okay?
All right. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Good stuff,
Scott.
man. That's a
Thanks.
fun guy right there. Scott Pollard, man. NBA champion of the Boston Celtics in 2008. Also played with the Kings. You heard him, the Pistons. Had some good matchups, man, with Shaq. We showed a bunch of pictures, man, going up against Shaq. And he's right.
The
Shaq was
Shaq
like
stopper.
and every
Nah.
yeah, don't do that. Because that was the Kobe stopper too. We talked about that as well. And
Oh, there was the Curry stopper too in Deladova. So there's always been that phantom stopper that happens, like they stop somebody for one game or something. So I would not want that title either, because as you
No.
know, superstars don't like being
No.
like hearing that somebody thinks that they can stop them. So he was smart to be like, whoa, 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 pump the brakes.
Put that
Don't
target
print
on
those
his back.
T-shirts.
I know, it's like a big old X on his back. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
you don't want that.
Like that was a good one about Steph Curry and Della. I was like, oh, come on, man, this kid, he's worked his butt off to get to the NBA, and now y'all gonna tell him you can stop the baddest little shooter on the
2
planet?
games.
Oh boy, yeah, that was good stuff there. Talking with Scott Pollard. Let's keep it moving. Zion Williamson, guys, we talked about it a few weeks ago with the case at Duke. Some impermissible benefits, if you will, at Duke. I guess a judge is now saying that he does have to answer some of these questions. Oh boy, how's
Yeah.
this thing gonna play out, Renee Montgomery?
Oh, I'm assuming that considering he's going to have to answer questions, it's not going to play out well, because we all kind of know how that story, we kind of can know what happened without him actually telling us. So I'm just curious what they're going to do. Again, we have this asterisk season. He didn't even get to play all last season. What can they even do at this point? I mean,
What do
for
you
the
mean? He's got to talk.
I don't know.
Okay.
Can they get some money back? I mean, I don't know.
That's what I'm
That's a
trying to
very good
ask. Like,
question.
he
Yeah.
has to talk, right?
I
And the
guess
talking
the
is
school
to
can
get
get
to
in
something.
trouble, and maybe they can take back. I don't know. They didn't win anything, so
That's what I'm trying. Like, so
I
what
guess the
could
school
even
can get
happen?
some sanctions, maybe. I don't
They're
know.
gonna be sanctions, definitely.
Yeah. But we all know how that is. It's like,
But
okay,
Duke,
But that's what
Duke
I'm saying.
doesn't
What
want
about
that.
Zion? What about Zion Williams? That's what I'm saying. What about him?
Oh, nothing. There's nothing they can do to him. But
That's what I'm saying.
Duke University, they don't want to get hit with a sanction saying
Oh no.
they can't be in the NCAA tournament for maybe 2 years or whatever. Or they don't want that. Duke is a premier
Of
school.
course they don't. But I was saying, like, they're gonna make Zion talk, and Zion is basically like, well, I guess I'll talk. Like, I'm saying from Zion's position, they're making Zion talk, but it's gonna be bad news, like you said, for the university. For him,
Right.
it's like, I guess I'll talk. What's gonna happen? It's not good.
Right.
He doesn't want anything bad to happen to his university, but
Right.
it's a bad position for Zion to be in, because I remember for preseason at UConn, we got in trouble and they made one of the people that started the trouble have to just stand there and watch us condition. So if you get someone else in trouble and they have to suffer the consequences, it's like one of the worst positions to be in as like a player, especially in that type of team environment. So that's a big blow. If I was him, even if nothing's happened, I would rather something happen to me, is what I was
Right.
trying to get at.
hmm Yeah, good stuff. All right, let's go back to the NFL stuff before Scott called in. Let's go back to Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll on Colin Kaepernick. Of course, they were opponents out there in the NFC West with the Seahawks and the Niners. Went the back-to-back conference championship games. It was at 12 and 13. Did some damage against those Seahawks teams. Pete Carroll giving Colin some credit. He says basically we owe Colin a lot for this. Your thoughts on Pete Carroll coming out and giving some public sort of bouquets to Colin Kaepernick and his
He's
movement?
always Pete Carroll. That's who he is. That he's always done that. He's always said nice things about Colin Kaepernick, even during the storm. His time at USC. He's known for giving those inner city kids opportunities. Being very vocal in the community and things of that nature. And even when Seattle was like the first team to invite him up to Seattle to talk to him. And I remember Pete Carroll said, I don't need to work him out because I see this guy twice a year. I know what he's capable of. Just unfortunately for Colin,
Yeah, he didn't stick though.
I was just about to say, I
it
don't.
didn't work. It didn't work, but we don't
Well,
know.
maybe it wasn't Carroll's. Maybe if I have to and I don't know the answer. Maybe Russell Wilson's like, dude, really? You're gonna bring him in here? I can't have this smoke. I can't have a guy like this being my backup.
Nah, I have my own theories about why.
What is it, Derwin?
What is it? You're the Seahawks fan. What is it?
Listen, I honestly believe that Doug Baldwin, the whole Seahawks locker room, like Colin, and they were lobbying. Sherman was there. They were all lobbying for him.
Yeah.
They bring him up there. Pete Carroll says, "Well, we don't need to work him out." And then Pete Carroll gave an interview after, and he said, "Well, Colin's a starter in this league.
Mm-hmm.
We have a starter. That that what he said was kind of cryptic to me because it made me. I think the only reason why Colin Kaepernick did not get a job in Seattle was he wanted too much money. He wasn't going to play. He was not going to play for backup money, and he was going to be a backup in Seattle because Russell Wilson don't leave the field, so he was going to have to hold the clipboard. And he had just come off of making $14 million in San Francisco, money guaranteed, and he did nothing in San Francisco. He's not playing for backup money. Backup money in the NFL is how much, Larry? What,
5 million or
6 million?
5 million or less, yeah.
After the money he made in San Francisco, he wasn't doing that.
Cam Newton's going to do it if he wants to start, and if he wants to get back in the league, he's going to do it.
Yeah, he's going to have to because no one's calling him.
And that's what I want to. I understand what Cap's doing, and I support him 100%. But there's a part of me that just says, damn, I just wish he would just say, I'm here, put me on any damn and just force the NFL to deal with it. You know, and that's where I wish that they had to be forced to just reckon with it. Like, he's here. We know he's one of the top, let's see, there's 32 teams, 64 QBs on the planet. We know he's at bare minimum a backup, probably a starter on at least a half dozen to a dozen teams in the NFL. Here it is. I just want the rubber to meet the road. I don't care how it happens. Make it happen. We haven't seen that yet, whether it's the workouts, the NFL saying stuff, they're moving stuff, he's moving stuff. Just put him out there, man. I want to see him play. And I don't know why it's not happening. And I wish that we can get the two sides together and be like, all right, put him out there. Let's see him play. Last time we saw him, 16 TDs, only 4 picks. Dude, there are quarterbacks that are signing in the National Football League that have never thrown passes. Couldn't lead a freaking high school team to a state championship right now.
So y'all don't think that the reason that he didn't end up being on the Seattle team had anything to do with him still not agreeing to kneel? So that's like, we think that they were going to be past that and they were going to let him kneel. Is that kind of the understood thing that we're all saying? Because I thought
the argument.
I thought that was I thought that was a part of the argument that.
But if there's any team that is,
Carroll will take anybody.
But that's why I said Antonio Brown. Like, that's what I said about Seattle in regards to Antonio Brown. He'll take anybody. But again, you got to remember, this is the NFL. Mm-hmm. This is like, Antonio Brown did his thing, but it's almost like Colin Kaepernick is blackballed, and you don't even necessarily want to be the one to have to deal with the media that comes with it. It's not just taking Colin Kaepernick; it's taking the media that comes along with it. If he is a backup quarterback, his jersey's going to sell out. I can tell you right now. So there's going to be. But I think there's all that stuff, but I still think that he never agreed to stand up during the anthem. So is that like not, because I'm not submerged in the football world, is that not a known that's a known thing
that's part of the package. That's okay. That's like the cake, it's already baked into the cake.
Because I was going to say, having that baked into the cake,
right?
If
you wouldn't
Pete
bring
Carroll,
it if you didn't know about that. Look, you're going to get some blowback, but we wanted to know what's the real reason here.
What's the real reason? I understand, but I think the real reason was they look, we want to do it. Could you just? I think it could have had something to do with, will you stand? Like, we're bringing you in, we want you, we have you here, we don't even need to work you out. If we brought you here, we don't need to work you out. What went wrong? Like, you know what I mean? I think that this, like, I can't understand what else could go wrong. I mean, money, yes, money. Okay, so if it is the money, I would actually be more relieved if it was the money. If you get what I'm saying, like, absolutely. But I think that there's some undertone, and so for Pete Carroll to say it's beautiful and all this other stuff, it's great, because I love people being vocal about it. He said it at a time where it wasn't easy to say. So I love that about it. But I hope that the reason they didn't take him, is what I'm trying to say, is that he didn't want to kneel. He didn't want to stand.
Yeah, we'll see. Go ahead real quickly, Durham.
Well, as you know, as a Seahawk fan, I got my ear pretty much to that team.
Okay.
They had Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch was sitting plenty of times. He doesn't stand for the anthem. And Pete Carroll, he let Marshawn do a lot. Why? Because Marshawn didn't practice on Wednesday, and sometimes not on Thursday, because Beast Mode giving it to you on Sunday. Why wear my guy out in practice when I know he's going to give me everything I got on Sunday?
It's not the same.
I go back to the locker room. Doug Baldwin, Bobby Wagner,
B-Wags, yep.
Sherman, they police the locker room. So Carroll knows I can bring just about anybody in that locker room, and my locker room guys will handle it.
And like the Patriots, they have that locker room. They can have anybody.
I've heard that about the Patriots as well.
Michael Bennett was there too. They all love Cap. They were shocked when Seattle didn't bring Cap in. And Paul Allen at the time, God rest his soul, he's passed away. He was the owner for the Seahawks, co-founder of Microsoft. He doesn't meddle. Pete Carroll's pretty much the president. Pete Carroll does whatever he wants. So
I hope it wasn't. I hope it wasn't
don't
kneeling
know
because
what.
you're going to get that with them.
Yeah,
I mean,
but I think
Yeah,
it's
but
something
sometimes
that
people might think that you're that desperate. You know, like after you sat out a while, it's
and
almost
clearly
like,
he's not. Clearly he's not. He's not that desperate because he's doing okay with the Nike
of
money.
course.
His
no, I mean
his
desperate
girl
to
just on the
play,
radio here
desperate to
just nothing
play. Not
necessarily
not desperate
related.
for money, desperate to play. So as an
Look,
athlete, as a
see, and that's what
competitor.
everyone wants to
He's
know.
not.
Where
I don't think he
is
is.
see, and
He's
that's
not.
what and that's
I-
the question.
And
Okay.
Where's the
I
desire to play?
question whether he really wants to play.
That's
I question
fair.
it
That's a fair
because
question.
if I love football and I'm not getting a chance in the NFL, maybe I go play arena. Maybe I go show my behind off in Canada. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, if I
I-
couldn't make it in the WNBA, I personally wouldn't do that because you're a superstar. So you got to remember, like, like I said, the same reason that when he kneels, there's going to be 100 cameras watching him kneel. When Marshawn Lynch kneels, it's kind of like some athletes were like, "Oh, that's just Marshawn." Like Draymond Green, his behavior on the court is unacceptable, but we accept it because it's Draymond Green's behavior. Marshawn Lynch has that same mentality. We know it. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Right.
But I was just saying the amount of media and
Okay.
coverage that comes with Colin Kaepernick kneeling on your team is far different than anyone else.
All right, we're going to have to move the discussion along. Let's spend a minute on this next topic. Vic Fangio, coach of the Broncos, a few days ago said, hey, NFL, there's no racism in the NFL, basically is what he said. And, we're a band of brothers because the way we do things will melting pot, things of that nature, which are all true. But there's only 3 coaches out of 32 teams. That's less than 10%. A league that's got 70% black participation with the players. So a little tone deaf with that. I see what he was saying. Nothing racist here or anything like that. But he sort of walked it back like, look, I made a mistake. Of course, look, there's racism everywhere. You just can't say there's no racism. I mean, maybe you can say it's not as much here as it is over there. We're all trying to get better, but just to have a blanket statement, there's racism in TV, schools, law,
The NFL.
the NFL, the WNBA, you name it. It's everywhere. It's prevalent everywhere in society. So I guess that's why he walked that back. Your thoughts on Big Fangio?
I only have one thought. I mean, NFL is one of the most racist leagues, known as that. Like they're viewed that. So even if they are or aren't, that's the view. So just even knowing the view, it's silly. Like I don't even really have much to say about that. It's just silly.
Derwin, Big Fangio, correctly, I believe, sort of setting the record straight there.
Yeah, he had to walk that back. The climate that we live in. These are certain things that you can't say, even if you
Why
didn't
are
mean.
people saying it right now? Like, and that's my point. Like, I understand why they're saying it. People are asking, but now's not the time to have to say, like, when we're literally in a social movement about injustice, there's no circumstance where you would say racism. Like, that's what I mean. I just don't think like, that's why I said it's like a non-starter to even talk about. Like, there's no point in time right now where you should say that.
Yeah, bottom line, like we said, we've been talking about this ad nauseum now. It's just a little tone deaf. That's all. There's no ill will or no bad intent there.
Exactly.
He misspoke. That's all.
Yeah, he misspoke.
And
watch what you say. Watch what. Like Herm Edwards, I just keep thinking the whole time. Herm Edwards, don't hit send. Just don't hit send.
that was.
I mean, the guy in Sacramento.
That's very difficult for people.
Don't hit send. If he doesn't hit send, he's still the voice of the Sacramento Kings.
Grant Napier.
Just don't hit send.
And like you said, I agree about Napier.
I don't want his job taken. Like, I'm not calling for his job. It's like, Grant, come here. You just come over here and you give him a hug, Grant. It's 2020. 3 black people have been killed by police in the last few weeks.
Right.
Let me right now, it's not the time to say all lives matter. Duh. All lives matter. Blue lives, black lives, all of them. But black lives matter now because of what we're going through. We're just highlighting it, Grant. That's all. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move it on. Florida A&M, talking a little college football, college sports, leaving the MEAC, going to the SWAC. What do you guys think about the Rattlers going to the SWAC? I think it's a great idea. They're going to make more money. That's the end of the story.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. I was just about to say more money. It's a good business. Good business proposal if you're going to make
closer to their rivals too. Closer to the rivals.
It's nothing. Yeah, that's good for them.
Yeah, save about $400,000 in expenses and travel and things of that nature. It's a win-win for them. I mean, I went to HBCU, CIAA school, which is a
Virginia
division.
State?
Yeah,
The great
Virginia State,
Virginia State University.
which is a Division II school, and two
Yep.
of our schools, actually three of our schools, left CIAA to go to the
Yep.
MEAC:
Mhm.
Hampton, Norfolk State, and North Carolina Central. And the MEAC has been somewhat of a joke because they don't even compare to CIAA school in basketball, and we're Division II. They don't draw. I mean,
Right.
no one's going to their games and things of that nature. So I mean, if the Rattlers, they can get out of that deal and go somewhere else where less travel, save some
Yeah.
money, and a bigger conference is
But
better
if
for
in
them.
Division One, you get more money to play those D1 schools. So that, like, look, I went to Middle Tennessee. It's a big school, about 30,000 students.
Uh-huh.
But in the grand scheme of things, athletically, no, it's not a University of Tennessee, Alabama,
Right,
Ohio
right.
State, or USC. But now you're a Division One school, and now, okay, we get to go play at USC or at
Yeah.
Nebraska. Now, we're getting $1.5 million bucks.
That
Just
changes
show up.
everything
Go play there.
recruiting wise
And
too.
Right.
sometimes we'll go there with their butt, which is, that's a whole totally different story. But yeah, now Florida A&M.
Also, recruiting wise, that's a big deal because sometimes coaches use as a recruiting tool, like we will be playing against X, Y, and Z, and
Yeah,
that's your chance
absolutely.
to shine. So yeah, like I said, it's just a good situation for them all
And they
around.
keep their rivalry with like Bethune-Cookman, who they play in the
Right,
Florida
right.
Classic at the end of the year in Orlando, which I got to cover for 4 years there. And now they get to play like Grambling, Southern teams that they've played in the past. Now they're in the same conference. Makes total sense for
Huge.
Florida A&M to do this. All right, let's move on and let's get into some good trouble.
Oh,
Good Trouble, the movie Good Trouble. We're going to talk about that here right now, live here on Esports Extra. The movie comes out July 3rd. It's going to be a great movie featuring the life and times of the great John Lewis, civil rights icon.
love it.
Also a congressman in the Congress of the United States. Shows his life, what he went through marching Selma, the Pettus Bridge, rising up, marching with Martin Luther King Jr. Guys, I want to say that we're very happy to be a part of this. We're going to be a part of some of the things we're going to be doing leading up to the movie Good Trouble, coming out July 3rd. Make sure that you check it out, movie theaters, and also streaming on all of those services and devices and platforms out there. Good Trouble, the movie, coming out July 3rd. Excited to be a part of that. We're going to do a stream leading up to this, trying to get people to vote. So we're definitely part of this movement. Renee, how excited are you to see this
What?
movie coming out and to potentially be a part of it, which I think we will be?
Listen, you already know about that life. So this is about to be the blueprint. First of all, very timely. So
Yeah.
good job by the Good Trouble folks. I mean, it's coming out. A lot of people are going to crave this type of information because I mean, he's a living legend, and I love that people like a congressman is getting their stories out there because I think honestly that's what we need right now. So excited to say the least to be a part of Good Trouble. And if I don't know if y'all hear the thunderstorm going on out there right there, I guess they're excited for Good Trouble too. So it's lit. It's
Right.
lit.
Call that a clap. Hey, we see the protests, the demonstrations nationwide here in the New York City, tri-state area, New Jersey as well, down south in Atlanta where you're at, Renee Montgomery. We've seen it in Brooklyn where you're at, Durham Worrell as well. Good time to get into some good trouble, which
Yeah.
means the ballot box, folks. We've been talking about that,
Yes.
exercising your franchise. Keep the energy going, keep the movement going. Demonstrations, protests, all the way through the first Tuesday in November. Exercise your right to vote, a fundamental right that we all have. And let's get out there and create some change. That's a part of what we're trying to do and a start to creating this change. During your excitement level for Good Trouble, the movie coming out July 3rd.
It sounds like it's going to be a great movie, and in the climate that we're in, even though my son is he's 6 and he's first grade, even his teacher today had them making signs and talking about brown people. So
Right.
I think this is a movie that I'm going to take him to go see it, and he knows about Martin Luther King. My wife and I have been teaching him various different things about brown people and how that
The struggle, man.
we would
The
struggle.
struggle.
We're not able
Yeah.
to do certain things whites were able to do. So he's learning, and I think this will be a great movie and a good thing to teach him.
Maybe somebody like Drew Brees and Grant Napier can watch this movie, Good Trouble,
And educate themselves.
and educate themselves and
Absolutely.
understand that, hey, we've been a part of this fabric too. That flag represents a lot, and we're all under that flag. And I want all of us to vote coming up here July 3rd. Once again, or the movie coming out July 3rd, Good Trouble, voting first Tuesday in November. Once again, Good Trouble, the movie coming out, select theaters, also streaming July the 3rd. We'll have more on that. We'll talk about this movie coming out with the great John Lewis and the shows leading up every Sunday, Wednesday, and Thursday right here live on Esports Extra. Look forward to more content and more discussions and conversations surrounding the movie, Good Trouble movie. Let's all get into some good trouble.
Good trouble.
Hey, I like
Go
it.
to the battle box.
I got in some good trouble yesterday. I was down there on the front lines. It felt
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
So yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I saw you on social media. Good job by you. Handing out water to the
Awesome.
demonstrators out there and the protesters, man. Straight up, man, from the heart, man.
I
Good
see you,
stuff.
Coach K.
Yeah, good stuff.
Just
Now,
stopping at-
like this is my hope that at a certain point
You're
the
getting into
protests.
some good trouble right now.
This is good trouble, and this is the good trouble that I'm kind of trying to twist this here. So I want the protests to turn into peaceful block parties. Like at a certain point when we
That's all.
start getting
We
the
saw that
wins.
with some of the cops. They were doing the, the cha-cha slide and
Listen,
everything. Yeah,
I'm so
Peaceful
here for that.
shuffle.
Why not? Why not? We're all out there. Let's start getting some music and just make it a whole vibe. We're out there for the right reasons. So yeah, let's turn these into block parties. I'm here for it.
I like
awesome.
that, man. We got to get that hashtag going. Hashtag
Protest the
trouble.
block parties.
get into some
Good
good
trouble.
Good
Woo.
trouble.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, good stuff. Let's go ahead and move on. NBA 2K League. We'll get. I think we're going to talk to our guy. Let me see. That would be Ivan Curtis, OG, coming
see.
up. We'll talk to Ivan as well. Also, your phone calls, guys, while we're waiting on Ivan Curtis. Live here on Esports Extra, 877-853-5247. Meeting ID Esport Extra. That is 377-678-9872. Hit the pound button twice. Guys, we're going to be talking about esports and racism. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes talking about this. The phone lines are open. Anybody wants to get in, let's talk about this while we're waiting on Ivan Curtis. They do have a game right now against Celtics crossover. So we'll get more into the NBA 2K League, but let's turn our attention to the Madden story. I was alerted to some tweets, not tweets, to some screenshots and some comments. I don't know if there were text messages or in a group chat by Voltrax, a Madden player who is a champion of an EA sanctioned event, Madden Championship Series, won a belt this year. Used the N word numerous times. Disappointed with Voltrax for that. I'm going to be very honest. I'm not going to couch it. No excuse for that. Should not be using that word under any circumstance. Very disappointed in him with that. I'd love to see him come out and talk about this. I want to hear from you guys, the people, the viewers that are watching. I want the phone lines open. I want people to call in as we discuss this. We've talked about this in our group Discord today with the Madden Compete Forever Season 51 League. Got no time for people using the N word. And guys, we're going to have a serious discussion about this. As prominent black folks that we are and have our platforms like Renee Montgomery, two-time WNBA champ, sportscaster Derwin Woodrell, sportscaster myself, Larry Ridley. We're going to use our voices. We're not going to shut up and dribble. We're not going to shut up and just broadcast. We are going to say what's on our minds and on our hearts. And what's on our heart right now is what's going on in this country. And what Voltrax did was not right, especially talking to anyone, but especially a 16-year-old kid, from what I'm understanding. I want to understand, where did this all come from? And if it's so prevalent in gaming, why don't I hear more about this? Esports community, I need you all to step up, because we will shine the lights on here. We will turn the lights on. I've got a ring light right here. Look,
I got my light. Look, I got my light too. You see it?
We'll keep turning it on, guys. I can do this all day, and we'll watch the cockroaches scatter. I don't give a damn. We'll talk about this. So I want to know, where did this come from? And it's not okay, because we're going to deal with it every single time that I see it. Renee, go ahead.
Yeah, you guys call in, because I saw in the Discord that a lot of people had a lot to say. Call in.
We have a caller. Coach K, let us know. Let's go to a caller. We'll come back to Renee. Renee, you pick it up. Caller, you're on the air live here on Esports Extra. Larry Ridley, Renee Montgomery, Derwin Woodrell. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, one more time, sir.
Hey, what's up, man? This is Larry Ridley on Esports Extra. How you doing, brother?
All right.
Who am I talking with?
This is I am 187 Proof.
What's up, 87? I am 187 Proof.
Yeah. Man. What up, Proof?
Wody?
What's going on?
Oh, you got it, man. I just want to get your thoughts, man, on Voltrax, man, a Madden player that we all know. I'm going to say alleged right now, because I don't know how true they are. I've seen numerous screenshots, probably a dozen, with his name on it. Just get your thoughts on what you've seen in the esports community, and how toxic it is, and how racist those remarks were, because that's exactly what they were.
Yeah, man. As I looked at the screenshot. To me, it was clearly hatred. I mean, no matter how mad you get when you play this game, I don't think that, sometimes people have a hard time controlling what they do in the heat of the moment. But I think that as I looked at the screenshots, this was done several times over and over. So, in my opinion, I feel like there's no place for that in our society, nonetheless on the video game.
So I have a question because I have a 12-year-old here, and I hear how people talk on the games. Is that like, and that's not the first time that I've heard people talk crazy on the games to the point where I'm like, yo, who is that? Like I had to ask my 12-year-old, who is that he's talking to? Because it was that type of vulgar. So is that not a normal culture? And I know Fortnite is different than the video games, but I think video game culture it has that in it a lot. Or am I wrong about that? What are your thoughts on?
Yeah,
Is that
it mimics society? Absolutely. Go ahead.
That's a strong possibility. I haven't come across it to that extent whenever I'm on the game. So from my own personal experience, if I was to come up against that, we could block and mute these people. That's the advantage of having social media.
right?
But to see this going on in the community and people just saying it's normal and it's not a big deal, it's not a good example to be throwing out there. As the way you carry yourself either.
You're absolutely right, and it is a big deal, and we're gonna talk about it every damn time that I see it on this show. As long as I have this platform, as long as I have the platform of being on TV and voicing video games and being a shoutcaster and a caster for video games and traditional sports, you better damn well believe I'm going to talk about it every damn time. So
I appreciate that.
Proof.
I really do. I
got you, bro. Hey, Proof, man. Be safe down there, man. Wody and New Orleans, man, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, brother?
Thanks, Proof.
All right. Thank y'all. All
right, good stuff. We got another call coming in. Coach K, go ahead and put him through. We'll take your phone calls live here on Esports Extra. We're talking about racism in esports, 877-853-5247. Meeting ID Esports Extra, 377-678-9872. Hit that pound button twice. We're going to do this all night long as you guys want to talk about this. Who's on the air? You're live here on Esports Extra. What's up?
Hey, what's going on? It's Legs McGee 83.
Legs McGee, talk to me, Chief. Your thoughts on the esports world and racism, bro?
I've been a streamer now going on a year and a half. And one of the things, me, myself, even on stream and even off stream, I've experienced myself, racial slurs came at me. I've been called the coon. I've been called the N-word. I had people come on the stream to ask me, do you like watermelon and chicken? And you know where that's going to go from there. And one of the things I realized is it's online. So I really don't pay it any attention. So a lot of times it's not really reported because people just brush it off. You know what I'm saying? Or they'll go back and forth with the individual in the chat or DM and different things like that. That's why it's not really reported like that. And sometimes, like in this instance, because Vortex, whatever his name is a high profile, Vortex, whatever. Because he's a high profile Madden player, that's the only reason why it was really like put out there. But if it was just a regular Joe or anybody like that, it'd have probably been brushed off. You know what I'm saying? They probably reported him to
I agree. That's why I was saying I think that's the culture of esports at this point.
But just like real life, but celebrities, I mean, sometimes you got to make an example and they need to be held to a higher standard. Damn it, Legs McGee, I work at SNY. There are things I can't do being a professional broadcaster working for NBC. I understand that. I have no excuses for that. We all make mistakes. Voltrax, stand your ass up and own up to it. Give us an explanation for what the hell happened. That's all I'm saying. Why you got to call this boy the N-word 20 damn times?
And you know what? And I understand, but a lot of times too, these kids that are online, they are not innocent. I'm gonna let you know that right now. These kids are online are not innocent. They talk trash. They say stuff. They provoke you. Understand he's a high-profile player. He was hot that he lost, so the N-word came out of his mouth. That's why when I saw it, it really didn't bother me because it was like, yo, that's, you see it all the time. But, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, being a high-profile Madden player, I mean, you got to watch what you say, but like he's part of the culture. He ain't even thinking about that. All he's thinking about is, yo, this dude trash. and he's just gonna go back and forth with him with words, not thinking that it's gonna go viral. But sometimes this is one of the things I try to tell people when you're streaming: do not answer DMs, because DMs are designed to set you up. Because people want you to get into an altercation with them so they can report you.
Good point.
You know what I'm saying? That's why when someone sends you a DM, I get it all the time. People will send me a DM after you blow them out, and they'd be like, "Oh, you trash." You know, they'd say stuff like that. "Oh, you trash as heck." You know what I'm saying? "Play me for money," whatever. You don't go back and forth with them, because what it is a setup, and what they're gonna do is they're gonna report you to Microsoft or Sony, whatever, and they're gonna put you out there. That's why you just let it slide. You know what I mean? And sometimes you may go back and forth with them, depending on how you're feeling. But for the most part, you just try not to go back and forth with them, because a lot of times it's a setup. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I don't know the guy personally, and I just think, you know what I'm saying, he was just in a moment. He was hot that he lost, because, you know what I mean, when you on top and you lose, you say things, you know what I mean, you ought not to say, however, and it backfired on him. But I don't know if he's a racist or not. I just think it was just in the heat of the moment. You know what I'm saying? And one of these kids got under his skin, and he said what he said. But like I said, none of these kids online are perfect. I don't care if you're 16. These kids are dirty. Their mouths are dirty. I had them, like I said, you should listen to how they talk. You should listen to how they talk when you in a party chat with them. I had to ask several kids, like, "Yo, do your parents know you talk like this?"
I've asked the exact same question.
Yeah. And you know what they tell me? They're like, "Yeah."
Yeah, like literally, and they'll yell it. Sometimes these kids are like, that's why I said this is a culture. That's why I'm glad you're bringing it up, because he's one of a many culture. Sometimes I turn off my 12-year-old's game. I'm like, nah, we're not doing that. Like, I don't know what's going on, like, but we're not doing that.
Exactly. And that's why I said, when I read it and I saw it, it didn't bother me, because it is part of the culture. And let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something right now. I know a lot of people, we had this discussion earlier, but the Madden community is very toxic.
Yep.
Very, very toxic.
A lot of communities are, but yeah, we're definitely one of them.
I mean, don't get me a lot of communities. The only thing I know about is Madden and 2K. Them communities, they rip you. You get it. They rip you. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's like, you know, it really didn't bother me. Of course, he's gonna have to answer why he said it, and I hope me personally, I hope he stand on his 10 toes and answer why he said it, and don't be ashamed. Listen, you said it.
You made a mistake. Own up to it.
Own it.
That's always my stance.
Good point.
So that's all I wanted to share with you. Thank you guys for the platform. Continue to do what you're doing, man.
No, we thank you, man. And man, hey, nothing wrong with the discourse that we had earlier, dude. We were all talking about our stances, and it was professional and it was adult, and I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Lex.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Too, I just want to say this too, like I'm 75, baby. 75.
Okay. I like that. That's the kind of talk that I encourage. That's it.
All right, get to 11 and 5, bro. Be good, man.
All right, catch you guys later, man.
All right, Esports Extra. We're talking esports and racism in esports. We'll take your phone calls live, 877-853-5247. Meeting ID Esports Extra, 377-678-9872. Press the pound button twice to join the show. Do we have another call, Coach K?
None right now.
Okay, got it. All right. So, yeah, just you guys reacting to that, man, as we're talking about this. I definitely want to hear from this kid. Like, I don't know a whole lot about what's right. Coach K, has he ever played in one of our – most of the guys have played in our leagues. I don't think he's ever played in one of our
No, not that.
He's one of the few guys that's never played in one of our tournaments. So, I don't know him personally. And this is not to vilify him. Look, he probably made a mistake. I do want to hear from him. I made a mistake. We can talk about all the mistakes that I've made in my life. I can sit here all day and talk about these. But you better believe, like I put in that chat this morning, I made a mistake and I learned from every last one of them. I didn't keep doing it over and over. This guy used the N-word
multiple times.
How many times? But it was way more than 5, 6, or 7.
In that one setting. And Larry Laptop, I think you handled it amazingly. Honestly, on the Discord, you were articulate. You still had a certain tone about it, like this is not okay. If you know he said it that many times in that one conversation, that lets you know, you can safely assume that wasn't the first time. And that's what I mean by the culture. And I know that a lot of my friends that are white, they're always asking me, like, how can I help? How can I help? And first of all, you can donate to my foundation. That helps. But secondly, I think the best thing that someone could do would be call out when they see it. Like, call out racism when you see it. Because a lot of times it doesn't happen necessarily right in our faces. That a lot of times it happens behind closed doors. It happens in those business meetings where you hear the undertone of racism. So if anybody, gamers or anyone, if you like a way to put a stop to things, obviously if you're arguing with the person not there, but just call it out, like be like, okay, that's corny. Like, like let people know that it's not okay.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Live here on Esports Extra, 877-853-5247. Meeting ID, Esports Extra, 377-678-9872 at the pound button twice. We're talking racism in esports and specifically Madden in this instance. Caller, you're live here on the air, live on Esports Extra. This is Larry Ridley. What's up? Talk to me.
Hey guys, it's Terrell, Cardinals representative.
Terrell,
coming
what's
to
up,
you
buddy?
with a
Yes, sir.
sober mind, humble heart.
Thank you.
This situation sucks, but that's the reality we live in. What Volter X did was wrong. It's not fair
Full stop.
to
Full
everybody
stop.
else.
Full stop. It was wrong. Boop. End of discussion.
Absolutely, it was wrong. But like you said, he needs to be held accountable, and he needs to own up to it. If EA allows these guys to call themselves professionals in any form, way, or fashion, you are held accountable no matter what profession you are in when you allow yourself to be titled that. All three of you know you can't just go out and say whatever you want because you are called professional. Being in the military, I can't say whatever I want because at one point in time, I am called a professional and I represent something. So for them to allow that, they need to be held accountable. They should come out with a statement saying, we know what has happened. Maybe he's seen the error of his ways, but he also needs to come out, confront it, and apologize for it. I would just like to see everybody be held accountable, professionals be held to a professional standard, which is one thing that gets slid by the wayside a lot. They get away, oh, I apologize. Okay, cool. But we got to start screening better. We're going to start holding people accountable. But then most of all, start educating. If you allow people to do that in silence, and that's what the keyboard allows people to do, say what they really want in silence and not be held accountable. So if we start holding people accountable when they start calling themselves professionals or not, just let them know it's wrong and then continue to move forward and educate.
Yeah, they call it Twitter fingers.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was waiting for you done. The keyboard warriors, Twitter fingers.
The anonymity of being behind the computer screen. Renee, Derwin, you got any questions for Terrell?
No, I actually think he made a good point in a sense that I didn't even think about Madden. Madden should absolutely come out with a statement, at
EA.
least acknowledging, or
Yeah.
EA?
Yeah.
Or whichever.
Yeah.
Or,
You know what?
EA.
Even if they don't, we'll hold his ass accountable.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, but like in a time where like that's the thing. This is how you educate people. If people don't know it happened, you can't educate them. So you're not making an example out of him. You say we are aware of this. We also are aware that this could have been the culture, but we're going to stop it now. Like they don't have like that's all you have to say. Like we are aware. This is the culture we're under. We're under investigation of. This is our culture. We're going to fix our culture. Like we can hold him accountable, but that's the platform. They need to also hold him accountable and just change the culture. I mean, it's not okay.
Well, we saw what they did to W. You remember that story, right, Terrell? So they
Oh,
waded in these
absolutely.
waters before. A Madden champ from 2017 that's done some broadcasting with us and played in our tournament. So, any other thoughts, Terrell? Man, thank you for bringing your wisdom to this debate.
Oh, no problem. Like I said, just hold everybody accountable and just educate. Again, the Twitter fingers allows everybody to speak their real mind and not be held accountable. Be able to hide behind the keyboard, the DMs, the personal messages. I've got them before. Just because you blow somebody out, they'll just and don't know what your race is. They'll just send it. They'll assume whatever you are because they lost and they're upset. But the problem is they're not held accountable. You can report them, but it's said behind closed doors. Sometimes Xbox or PlayStation will take care of it. Sometimes they won't. And you never know. You block them, you keep it moving, and then you just gotta hope sometimes that person grows for the better. So I'm glad what you guys are doing, holding people accountable, educating, and spreading the good word. Hopefully what you guys did in the Discord earlier was absolutely fantastic. Whether or not you guys saw eye to eye, you were able to have an open discussion with an open mind and talk about it like adults. It was great. So as long as we have that discussion, continue to move forward, educate, and grow, learn, and understand, and move forward for the better, you guys will always be doing the right thing. I just want to say thank you, stay safe, and keep doing the good work.
Likewise, brother. Same to you, Terrell.
Thank
We
you
really
very
appreciate it, man. Be
much.
safe out there, man, and have a pleasant rest of the evening. All right,
All
bro.
right, Terrell.
You too.
All right, good stuff. That's Terrell. Wanted to bring up the Oregon State coach, or they just let their tight end go today. Had an audio clip of him using racist slurs. We saw Jake Fromm, the former Georgia quarterback, Buffalo Bill QB now, with that's a little tricky because that was a private conversation, a private text, but he was talking about white privilege and white elitism.
That was a year ago too.
Only elite white people should have guns. So look, I mean, look, the light is being shined,
Jeez,
and
Yeah.
you're starting to see the old cockroaches scattered. Yeah, but the Jake Fromm thing, I do want to say this. That was a private conversation, so that is in its separate category, but still the wrong thing to say.
What did he
But yeah,
say? I'm not.
he said something to the effect, only elite white people should have guns.
Oh my
He
goodness.
he said guns are good, and he added, just make them very expensive so elite white people can get them. Haha.
Oh, that haha took me out.
Aha.
Ooh,
See,
hilarious.
and and it's like, look,
So on top of it just being not very bright, it was not funny. So that was my. I would just say that's not funny, but okay. Bad joke.
Yeah.
well, I also put in the Discord today. You look at that Buffalo Bills QB room. You got Josh Allen, who's had his run in with the N word. His was a little different too because I think he was tweeting I think rap lyrics, right? Is that what it was, if I'm not mistaken, back in the day? And then you got Jake Fromm, who's talking about elite white people. It's like, damn, Sean McDermott with the Buffalo Bills, you got a hell of a quarterback room right there, brother. They
Man,
released a statement, by the way, the Buffalo Bills did today as well. So
what did they have to say? I mean, we don't
You
know,
have
but
to.
that's the thing, and I know it feels like we're probably beating a dead horse, but these were all different stories. Like we covered multiple stories today, and they all had the same thing, the same underlining thing. So kudos to you, Larry Ridley. I'm proud to be on this show because a lot of the times some of these topics are not easy to talk about, especially in a platform where there's going to be sponsors involved. But I do think if people continue to have conversations like we're having, in the sense of these are very articulate conversations. We're not burning anybody at the stake. Like it's very logical thought process conversations. People have to do better. So if people are feeling like they're getting it made an example of, it's not. This is an educational time where people need to learn how to talk again, basically. If you thought what you said was okay and it's not, you just have to relearn your vocabulary then.
yeah, it's called intelligent discussion. Go ahead, Doran.
Yeah, right now the block is hot. You gotta watch it. Yo, if you're
Block is hot.
Caucasian, if you're Caucasian right now, you gotta
Don't
watch
do it.
what you don't do it. Don't hit send. You gotta watch what you say. You gotta double check. Think about it. I mean, the backlash is not worth it right now.
But I don't want to silence our white friends, my white colleagues. We need you.
I don't know, man.
Don't say nothing stupid, but we need you in this whole social injustice.
Injustice. We do. We need
racism.
all the
We
cultures.
do. Go
Like,
ahead, Coach K.
So I'm kind of going back to the Madden part of things. I know that the past couple of callers kind of mentioned that yeah they do it and they get away with it, and we're using this instance as example to shine a light on a bigger problem. But besides the racism, there's other bad behaviors that they do that are in the community, very toxic behavior that's done, and people let it slide just because they're good at the game. It's that simple, and I've seen it for years. It's very disappointing to see, but it just is what it is. I've seen it so many times now. It's like, all right, well, I guess that's pretty much how it is. So it's like they do that, they lose a game. What I don't know if it's something in them that's like, hey, I lost the game, so uh I have carte blanche to do whatever I want, and hey, I lost. I was a sore loser. But especially in this instance, you saw that typed out. He typed it out.
yeah.
You know, type
Multiple times.
multiple times.
Not once or
He did a
twice. We're talking like
sentence, and instead of a period,
he
he
kept
put
going back at the cast like,
he
dude, that's
put
in
the
your
N
heart.
word.
That's in your heart, man.
He did it several times, and people have told us that there's other instances of this.
Of course there are. This definitely was the first. You don't go from 0 to saying it 5 times in one sentence.
Yeah.
Like you go from singing about it to saying it one
And
time, and
then
then there's a progression.
and then like he does that. Like frame it. Like you're watching a movie or something like that, right? So he does it, right? N-I-G-G-E-R. Make sure I put E-R. And then he does it. He's mad. He turns off the Xbox, goes downstairs, gets himself some cereal, eats, and it's cool. It's normal. And that's it.
Unbothered.
And
Unbothered.
life moves on.
Of
And
course.
and I think in this instance he did it to a 16-year-old kid.
I know. That's the
You know,
problem.
it's like, and it's just all
That's a
good.
form of bullying, and that's got me a little because I've got kids, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you go ahead. Like I'm saying on the Discord,
But does he
if
know?
you're so casual with it,
Uh-huh.
it's said to the right person,
Yeah.
or in your case, the wrong person.
Yeah.
See how that goes for you. I
mean-
know your butt will be at
And the
Popeyes.
thing is this. I've heard stories.
Is that a
I've
call
seen-
coming in?
No.
Okay, sorry about that.
No. I've seen stories online where like people know the negative connotation of that word, because sometimes a player will lose to someone online and just assume they're black. Because and there's people who's like, I wasn't even black, and the guy just NIGGR'd me. You know what I'm saying?
Because they know that's the harshest thing you can say. So if it is somebody that's
Exactly.
black,
So
then they know
there's
that it'll land.
there is absolutely no excuse for that, especially in this instance and stuff like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, this show right here, this is an intersection, right? Crossroads of traditional sports, esports, culture, entertainment. That's why we call this show Esports Extra. Sometimes we're a little extra, you know, but we're gonna.
I'm definitely extra.
We've
I
had
will
on
say that.
trap music museum people, entertainers. We're gonna have on a rapper here soon. Look, we talk about it all. You know, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, everything that's under the umbrella of entertainment, which is pretty much every damn thing, especially in this country. So we're gonna continue to talk about it, man. But you know, great job by all of you guys. You know, the callers, the people in the Discord. It was good
Yeah,
to
for
hear
sure.
different and varying views on this. That's what it should be about. And that's what this show is going to be about. This show is going to be an open dialogue for all of us to assert ourselves and to, you know, deliver our, you know, our views and our ideals.
Yeah.
Durham, you know,
I have one thing to say, like, and I say this, and I said it earlier, but I really, and I know that, you know, we should, and I let me go back to remember when Scott was calling in, and I was saying, like, I was born and raised in the pews, so I have a servitude type of attitude because that's just how I was raised. So when I go out there and hand the waters, I don't like ask them questions like, "Are you here to mess things up or anything?" So when I am serving the community, like it doesn't matter. Somebody could be a racist. I'm still gonna hand you water and food. But if somebody shows me who they are, like I'm just gonna believe them. That's why I said if he said if Drew Brees said it and he meant it, that's his opinion. Like I want people to show me who they are. So that's why I don't like people walking it back. If you meant it, you meant it. Like you can't you're not gonna change everybody's mind is what I mean. So I'm always under the impression, even the people in the Discord, some people were defending him using that language, saying that's just the culture. Like, you know, and I don't believe that those people, like none of those people are necessarily saying that they're racist. They're
we
just
ain't rocking like that.
yeah. And so basically exactly. So we have a difference of opinion. But I don't know. I just would always like to know where somebody stands. So for any of these people, all these stories coming out, I'm like, perfect, good. You know where he stands. Perfect, good. The apologies following what you really meant for me are just not it.
Well, the great Maya Angelou, what did she say? She said, if someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, people make mistakes, so I don't want to just pigeonhole everyone. If you make a mistake, come out and own it, like Derwin said, and move on. But show us
Exactly.
that you've learned from it. If not, then it's
Exactly.
like, that's
You can
him.
always tell who really like you can tell who knows that they made a mistake and want to do better. You can tell who knows they made a mistake and just have to give an apology. So
Go ahead, Coach K.
Just one more point. So, okay, so from this incident, right now, if we can focus on this incident. Don't call people the NIGGR. Don't do that. You know, that's fine. That's cool. But I think what's behind that is that there also needs to be um, well, right now in the community, I feel like there's a lack of respect in general for us. You know what I'm saying? Like,
As a people.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
like
No, you're right.
I don't take you seriously. I don't take you seriously, and I will not like you if you take yourself seriously. You have to fit into this box of like, because sometimes a lot of these people that they come from places where they're not interacting with black people all the time. You know, they don't work with them. They're not their neighbors. Nothing like that. All they see is what they see on TV. Athletes, rappers, so on and
They
so
want you to
forth.
stay in that box. Entertain me.
Yeah.
Do that.
Mhm.
Stay over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do your thing, and don't come outside of that box.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like they've never went maybe to a black doctor's office, a lawyer. Maybe they've never seen a black judge or anything like that. So that's all they're used to seeing. So if you fall outside of that and they run into someone that, okay, this person, this black person takes himself seriously, so on and so forth. Like, it's like some of them, they can't handle that.
Right.
Ye-
We are the good thing, though. I will say this: we're starting to see a lot of our white colleagues
I love it.
realize
I love
their
it.
white privilege. I'm seeing a lot of that on my timeline. I'm hearing that from my white colleagues as well. That they understand
Absolutely. Me too.
it's a little different. Not a little. It's different for you,
Different this
Larry.
time.
It is different
Yeah.
for you, Larry Ridley and Durham Worrell. I have constant conversations with my boys, my 3 black boys and my black daughter, all the time about you have to be twice as good. The same conversations. Walk slowly. Don't do this. I don't care about little Johnny. That's big in my house. Don't talk to me about little Johnny. Your daddy's Larry Ridley. So you're going to have it a little different.
I like that.
So yeah, I don't care about little Johnny. So I want you to, your comportment needs to be a certain way because the way that you're viewed, and it is what
Yep.
it is. Is it fair? No, it's not. Damn it.
It's
Nope.
But
reality.
this is reality, and this is how you're going to make it. And hopefully, my place is better than what my mom and my dad had, and my grandmother and my grandparents. The next generation, 20, 40, 50, whenever they're, running things, there you go. That's all we can do is push the ball forward.
And I
And
was,
and to piggyback off of that, I also want to say the same. Like I had even my head coach today, shouts to Coach Nikki Collin. She just straight up texted me and was like, so what can I do to help? Because she saw that I was posting about I'm about to be out in the community, like I'm gonna be, and she just hit me with a straight text, how can I help? Some of my Connecticut people, how can I help? That's like if nothing else happens, people realizing that they have a privilege and then knowing that they can help. If
Sure.
nothing else happens, like for me, I'm so full, like, because that's a big deal.
Right. Well, and all of that, LeBron James, the NBA players, the NFL players, the Major League Baseball players, National Hockey League, MLS, NASCAR, all of the pro athletes, we need their voices. We need
Yeah.
Renee Montgomery. We need a Derwin Worrell. Much is expected of a Larry Ridley, and damn it, we're going to give it to you. I've hit a breaking point. Typically, I've been one of those people like, I'm not going to wade in on everything. Now it's turned me around. I
Yep.
feel like I
Same.
have to be not only socially conscious, but I have to lead by example and I need to lend my voice, whatever that is, to push things forward. And that's what I'm going to do. And the light,
Hey.
the light, it went just like that. It went on, it clicked. That's what happened.
I
And
love it.
I hope that it affects all of us and impacts us all going forward.
yeah, yeah. And, kind of last point for me. I'm doing a puffy on this, but
Yeah, because Renee, over an hour and a half, she gets double time.
I'll talk to your agent. But last point. Okay, so now I know Larry, you mentioned earlier that down the street you saw 2 guys talking that definitely should not be using the N word. But you're not going to get into that and stuff like that.
Right.
Now,
And it wasn't directed at me.
to
So it's
to
like,
be
okay.
now
2 non-blacks, by the way. Yep.
speaking for myself and maybe
Mhm.
for other people, I'd rather deal with that than there's people with their behavior towards you says it non-verbally, NIGGER, to you.
Mm.
Like the way they do, like they could never say it, but the way they act towards you, the way they apply double standards towards you, all that stuff, acting weird, all that type of
Don't
stuff.
be weird, bro.
Don't be
Hashtag
weird.
don't be weird.
It's just sometimes there's like some just unexplained weirdness. I'm like, yo, what's going on? But whatever. But that's my last point. Thanks, guys.
All right, last thoughts, Derwin, Renee. Oh yes, Compete Forever. Coach K, let's put this up. Compete Forever, Black News Channel.
Yes,
Debut
sir.
in 2 days, Saturday,
Mhm.
11 a.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Eastern. Our Albany Madden NFL Capital Center Classic will air on the Black News Channel. Get it? Dish Network, Xfinity, Comcast, and other
Fire Stick.
Fire Stick, Spectrum cable as well.
Roku.
Check it out. Sling, Roku. And
Yeah.
also Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Eastern. Compete Forever Madden NFL Albany Capital Center Classic. All this weekend, 4 showings. Saturday, 11 a.m., 6 p.m. Eastern. Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Eastern. So once again, Saturday and Sunday, both times, 11 a.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Eastern. Our Compete Forever Madden NFL Albany Capital Center Classic. Find out it was a really good event. We had 6 strong Madden players, 5 great games, and $2,000 in prizes, cash and other prizes on the line that we gave out that day. So Durham Worrell, it was his birthday. So when you watch it, say, hey, happy birthday, Durham.
Hey, with everything going on right now, I'm a firm believer in teachable moments, learning things from everything that's going on. Drew Brees hopefully will learn something from his comments. All these people right now that are making comments that are sensitive to other people, hopefully they will learn from it and we can all move forward. And maybe some time in my lifetime, I can see some kind of racial harmony. That would be a beautiful thing. Something for my son as I leave this earth and he's still here. I pray that we get to that point. Maybe this time it's different. Maybe what we're going through with all the protests and Mr. Floyd losing his life, won't be in vain, and it will make some kind of a change going forward.
It does seem different this time. What do you guys think? Like I was there. I was in Orlando. Just moved to freaking Orlando when Trayvon Martin lost his life down there. We've seen other. We all know the names. Eric Gardner here in New York City area. Tamira Rice, Breonna Taylor, Ahmed
Ahmaud Arbery.
Ahmed Arbery. Yes, we know all the names, man. But this time it's like, people starting to hear the pain and the cries, crying out. That look, we've got a problem here. There's a systemic issue that needs to be addressed, and I think we as a people collectively are trying to get that done. So I thank all of you guys for your time, your voices, your energy. Coach K back there pushing all the right buttons as usual.
Coach K was talking today.
Coach K, he talks all the time. You don't be talking like I do.
Not on the show.
Okay. He's always talking.
I like it though, Coach K.
Yes, absolutely. Doran Worrell, fellow sportscaster. We'll see you guys Sunday.
Yes.
Renee Montgomery, what is she? She's from the A, and put them up.
Yeah,
guys.
the A's turning up. Juneteenth.
Time.
Doing some things in the A. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Down
I
there
wish you guys
Atlanta.
could see Coach K.
Thank you all. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you Sunday live here on Esports Extra. So long and good night from New Jersey and the Tri-City area, the Tri-State area. We'll see you Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here, Esports Extra. Be good.